Oh man, what's really good, family tree? I'm just doing a quick live stream right now, just so I can talk to you guys and see what everybody is up to right now. I had a few questions about a few of the shows that I had done. So I thought to myself, let me just quickly, before I go home, let's see if I can just grace you guys, come on here live with you guys right now. If anybody would like to come on and actually talk, yeah, let me know. Let me know. Of course, most of you guys are just getting the notification in the next maybe 5 minutes from now. But those of you who have got your notifications switched on, I welcome you. But if you don't, please get your notifications switched on so you can know whenever I'm going live. Let's go. Black Buddha Beats up in the building. What are you saying, my brother? So I was talking about, the Roman Catholic. And when I say Roman Catholic, I'm talking about Byzantine Catholic. So that's the Eastern Roman Empire. Eastern Roman Empire is Western, yeah. Eastern Roman Empire. That's what I'm really talking about right there. And Catholic literally just makes it's just the universal church. So it's orthodox, so to speak. That's really what I'm discussing. Ah, mate. It's been so interesting, actually. I was doing some research or reading. Yeah, I was doing some reading, actually. I was doing some reading. I was doing some reading on this particular topic to actually, drop some bombs for a few people. And then I was like, oh, let me apply this. And I was like, my mind is absolutely blown to think it's been there for it's been there for us all day, all the time. Okay, let me go back in time. Let me go back so I can actually just fully get this across to you guys, right? So recently, after I was having this conversation, because people saying, oh, Halloween is a pagan festival, that pagan festival, that. I'm like, no, not really. It's all to do with All Hallows Day, which is on the 1st of November, and All Hallows Eve is Halloween, which is the day before All Saints Day, and it's to represent or to just kind of celebrate the saints known and unknown. And I put up a post talking about Saint Muhammad, because most of you guys, right, you don't even know that Muhammad is actually a saint within inside of within maybe inside of your tradition. If you are from an apostolic church, he may even be a saint within inside of your tradition, but you just don't know it because they don't call him by that name. So I said something that was quite I mean, I do controversy, but everything that I talk about, even though it's controversial, it's actually the truth. It's facts that I'm spitting right there. So it's St. Gregentius, of course, right? I'm spitting straight facts, but I already know I'm like 10, 15, 20, even 20 years ahead of like what is out there right now. And I know, truth goes through three stages, right? Truth goes through three stages. First of all, it is like ridiculed and mocked. Just think of Jesus for a hot second, ridiculed and mocked. Then it's violently oppressed, even to the point of death. Jesus, Galilei, everybody. And then afterwards, it just becomes like a self-evident truth. Like, of course, we all knew this. Yes. So it's one of those ones. So everything I'm teaching you, I'm telling you, like, is going to catch up in the next like 15 years mainstream. It may just be their mainstream, right? But for now, you lot should just feel as though, like, right, I'm ahead of the curve. Because when I was always talking about, like, Arabia was already Christian, during the time of the legendary Muhammad, it was already Christian. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't bought his book though. Forgive me, Gabriel Said Reynolds, yeah, big man on campus. Forgive me for not buying your book, but I'm pretty sure that is what his whole thesis of his book is, that Arabia was already Christian at that point. Like, it was already Christian. And I think most scholars are now going to be talking about, the Kaaba and, the people who are called mushriks or mushrikun. They're not actually pagans. They're actually Christians that they were in conversation with. So it's going to be interesting that in a few years' time, when this becomes mainstream, you'll all be like, right, I remember Kalam talking about this. I used to watch his channel 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, and he was talking this, and it's only coming out now. Yeah, trust me, you're not going to be like that. So anyways, yeah, so we showed that St. Gregentius, or I don't know if I showed it, But Saint Gregentius is basically the Muhammad, the historical Muhammad. Let's start there. Okay, he's the historical Muhammad. If you've ever seen some of my presentations done with Jay Smith and Hatun, you know I talk about two different types of Muhammad. We have the historical Muhammad, and then we have the legendary or the traditional Muhammad that you find throughout the Hadith literature. Okay, and I do a comparison to say, you know, we know about Santa Claus. Cool, we do. Good, good, good. We know that Santa Claus originated. He's a legendary character. Okay, Santa Claus, legendary character, but he originated on a historical figure, which was a Christian bishop of the 4th century, part of the Byzantine Empire in Turkey, right? So we have Saint Nicholas, which is actually a historical figure. But then you have all these narrations and stories and you know, exaggerations to the point now that he is flying a magical beast throughout the heavens to now deliver presents to children, etc., etc., etc. Right? So we know that there is clearly an embellishment of a story to the point the factual elements of Saint Nicholas' story is completely lost, and all we know now is Santa Claus. Right? So it's the same thing with Muhammad of history. There is a historical Muhammad that the legendary figure of Islam is built out of. Okay, again, it's gonna sound wild now, but I'm pretty sure like later on you're gonna catch up to this, right? You're gonna catch up to this. So already in scholarship, I'm not making this up. If I have time, I'll just show you that scholars are talking about this. They talk about the Quranic Muhammad versus the Muhammad of the cultural hero, basically the cultural heroic figure that you find in fictional literature. Cool. So you have those two different individuals. Cool. So now I'm saying to you that this Saint Gregentius, right, who my good brother I Fish in the Tie has put up, Saint Gregentius, is actually the Muhammad of history. Yeah. Now, what is so great, right? If you take time and you learn and you read this, you know that Gregentius is not actually his name. Okay, it's not actually his name. It's a, I don't know, it's a made up name that the writers created. Okay, so it's not really his name. So the person who is called Saint Gregentius is an unnamed bishop who operated the See of Ethiopia, or operated the See of the Himyarites, or operated from the See of Zafar. Okay, that was his episcopate. Okay, so he was that individual. Unnamed, they say, but they call him Saint Gregentius. Cool. I hope you lot are with me with that. If you're not, drop a question and we will review this. Okay, cool. So now the question is, right? Because if you've read the life and works of Saint Gregentius, there's like 939 pages of it. Most of it is scholarly, like, you know, talkings about it. So let's say there's about 400 pages. Let's just keep it nice. There's 400 pages that's been written. There's 3 books in there. There is the biography. There is the Nomos, the laws that he gave to the Arabian Peninsula. And then the Dialexis is a debate with a Hebrew rabbi. Okay, so those are the 3 things that it's filled up. 400 pages, right? So you have authors or author writing about a particular saint of the 6th century, roughly in the 9th, 10th century. Okay, they know the main figures in the story, but somehow they don't know the saint's name. I have a problem with that. Okay, when I started thinking deeper, I'm like, they either did know or they didn't know. And if they didn't know, why are you writing such a big book about something that took place 300 to 400 years prior to you? Like, why are you writing that book if you don't know the name of the individual? You know the king, i.e., because it talks about Abraha, okay, being the king that he was sent to, etc. Right? So you know the king, but you don't know the saint's name. But this book is purely about that saint. So there's one hypothesis: is either you don't know the name, but you still wrote it, or either you do know the name, but you withheld the name, or maybe you didn't withhold the name. That's another possibility right there. So it got me thinking. It got me thinking today as I was doing some reading. It got me thinking. I was like, For real, what is the motivation in the 9th to 10th century to write this work? Maybe it's to actually counteract, because obviously, maybe it's to counteract the false information that's already been spread about that time period. I was thinking, oh, maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's a counter narrative to, for example, the Muslims' account, Sirah literature, about what took place in that period of time to do with Muhammad. Maybe it was a counter narrative. Like, I could be wrong, I could be right, but just hear me out for a second. I thought to myself, maybe it's that. And they said, but we can't really let you know what we're saying. But for those who know, know. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me bear with for a second. So they let you know with inside of the literature. Okay, I'll do a proper show in this where I can show you all the documentation. But now we're just talking, right? They let you know that he was an apostle. Okay, an apostle sent to that particular nation to spread it throughout the Arabian Peninsula. He had a divine holy book that was given to him. He had laws. He did homilies. He did all sorts, right? And and he was there with the king Abraha, the Abyssinian king, and they did wondrous works throughout that period. Cool. Lets you know also that he was a prophet. Okay, so he's an apostle. He's a prophet, but it withholds his name. But it lets you know that he was an archbishop. It gives you his titles. He was the archbishop. He was, the archpriest, which got me, this is where I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I see what you're doing there. And then he's also known as the Blessed One. Like, I searched for it. I was like, right, there's like 136 occasions where he's given the honorific, the Blessed One. But then I was doing some reading because I was doing some coin readings, right? I was doing some numismatics readings. And I was like, oh, I went back to one of my old school books, the Hidden Origins of Islam by Oleg. And I was reading through certain things. And I was like, you just sparked my head. You sparked me right there. Because the Blessed One, and I was reading some Sabaic writings as well, sorry. And this is where it all tied in. I was like, the Blessed One as a title. That's interesting. Because if I was to translate that, Barak, if I was going to use like Arabic, Hebrew, Ethiopic, Sabaic, Barak is the term that I would use for bless, or Mubarak, to say one is like a blessed one, basically. And I said, that's interesting. I was remembering Abdullah Gadari's work to do with polysemy and stuff like that. And I was like, what is, like, blessing is one of the meanings of the word. When you say bless, that's one meaning when you look into the actual language, but it has a second meaning. It also means to praise. I said, hold on. Are you telling me all this time, yeah, where it's using the term blessed one, it can also mean the praised one? Bear with me now. And I was thinking, hold on. But I do know what praised one means within inside of the Arabic language, right? It's Muhammad. I was like, hold on. Maybe they weren't trying to, how can I put it? Maybe they weren't trying to obscure it. Maybe they were actually telling you right there what they're saying. But because it's in another language, i.e. Greek, I know it's been translated into Arabic as well. Like, because it's lost in translation, you don't actually see it. Right? And I said, ooh. Apart from using the name Gregentuus, that is the most used appellation given to this individual. He's called the Blessed One, the Blessed One, the Blessed One, the Blessed One. And I was like, but if you actually use, like, if you say the Blessed One, it also means the praised one as well. So it's like, ooh. It's not actually hiding it. It's telling you what it is. It's just that we don't know. And then I was also thinking, because I was here thinking, I was watching something and I was like, you do realize that if you really truly read that Sirah literature properly and you read the context and the content, knowing history, you'll understand that it's not actually trying to, like, it's letting you know that Muhammad was a Christian. The Muhammad of the traditions was actually a Christian. Like, it's letting you know that. And it's trying to let you know and give you proof text. I gave you guys the other day to do with like Muhammad's first revelation, and then a Christian was there to tell him about his revelation, etc., etc., etc. And I want you lot to just learn this, right? Because there is the claim that Muhammad Rasulullah, Muhammad is the apostle of Allah. And for most people don't understand what an apostle is. I understand what an apostle is, right? And I want you lot just to Google, like do a research, go on an encyclopedia, do something, understand the terms that's being used. That's what, like, just understand it. What does it mean that Muhammad is the apostle of Allah? All right. Allah is the name of the Christian God, throughout North and South Arabia. He is the apostle of the Christian God. What does that mean? This South Arabian / Abyssinian man, what does it mean to be an apostle of God? Right? What does that mean? And then what are the proofs to say that one is an apostle? And I'm like, listen, like, it's all there. Both occasions when they want to give you proof text to him being an apostle, it's all in there. For example, number one, right? The very first proof that they tried to give you is just before he got his commission to be a prophet. Okay. You have the story of the rebuilding of the Kaaba, the building of the Kaaba, or the rebuilding of the Kaaba. And what happens? It tells you that a Ethiopian Roman Christian from Egypt came in and built the Kaaba for the people, right? Cool. Then they had some form of election and chose an individual to be umpire, to be the leader of them, to be an umpire, they say, to be the leader of them. Cool. It's like they're literally telling you something, but you need to understand what what a bishop is and how one becomes a bishop, right? Actually, let me do this. Can I do this? Yeah, let me do this. Let me show you quickly. Let me do this because I'm talking, but it's easier just to show people. Let's see. Can I just go onto Catholic Encyclopedia? Can I type in apostle? And would it just come up one time? Give me a second, family, because I know some people don't know. So let me just quickly do this. Let's go. So we want to find an apostle. There you go. Apostle. There we go. Apostle. Cool. On the name apostle, on its various meanings, on its origins, on the office, and the conditions required in them. That's what we really want to go to. Yeah. Yeah. Right there. Can you not see that? Yeah. Yeah. We want to go to that. So let's go. Let's see. Okay. All right. So this is the offices and blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Okay, Jesus sends, let me start from here. Jesus sends the 12 to preach the kingdom and to heal and gives them their different instructions. From all of this, it results that the apostles are to be with Jesus and to aid him, etc., etc. Let me keep on going. The nature of apostolic mission is made clearer by the sayings of Christ after his resurrection. Here, such passages as Matthew's, etc., are fundamental. In the first of these texts, we read, "Go ye therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing in the name of the Father, Spirit, and the text, same office of preaching and testifying. The Acts and epistles written by the apostles exhibit them in the constant exercise of this office. Everywhere the apostle governs the disciples, preaches the doctrine of Jesus as an authentic witness, and ministers the sacred rites. In order to fill such an office, it seems necessary to have been instructed by Jesus, to have seen the risen Lord. And these are clearly the conditions. So you have to either be a disciple. So you have to be a disciple of Christ and then seen the risen Lord in order to be an apostle. Okay. And these are clearly the conditions required by the apostles and the candidates for the place of Judas Iscariot. Of the men, therefore, who have accompanied us all the time that the Lord Jesus went in and out from the beginning, blah, 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 become a witness of his resurrections, the narrative which seems to come from an Aramaic Palestinian source, like many other details given in earlier chapter of Acts, set aside further objections by St. Paul because he was called in an extraordinary way. See, This is it. This is another one. Yeah. To become an apostle, this is another way you can be by an extraordinary way. He was obliged often to vindicate his apostolic authority and proclaim it that he had seen the Lord. Instructions and appointments by Jesus were therefore the regular conditions for the apostolate by way of exception and extraordinary vocation, as in the case of Paul, or a choice by the apostolic church, where by way of exception. Okay, cool. Now let me start here. Cool. I done all that reading and it was just here. Everything was here. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So, all right, let's quickly just run through that real quickly. Yeah. So the 3 ways you can become an apostle is by instruction appointment by Jesus. Okay. Were therefore the regular conditions for the apostolate. Okay. Unfortunately, that has passed. That was like the 12 disciples or the 70 apostles that were sent out in the time of Jesus. That was one way you could become an apostle. All right. Now, there are other ways to become an apostle. It says here the regular conditions by way of exception, an extraordinary vocation, as in the case of Paul, i.e., seeing the risen Christ and being sent out on a mission. That was another way. Or a choice by the apostolic college, okay, as in the case of Matthias, could suffice. Right. So you had to be chosen by, the bishops, basically, the apostolic college, which were bishops, in order to be an apostle. Right. Now, if you know about it, there's an election process that takes place. What was going on in the whole story of building the Kaaba and all these things here, that was the college that was convening, right? This is like a religious structure being built by Christians, and all of the top leading bishops and priests and people that was there were saying, who should we pick? This is the person that we're going to choose. And then Muhammad comes in and he was the choice. If you know and you understand, yeah, that's what was going on. How do we know it was a church? Well, quite simply, it's a bloody Ethiopian Roman Christian of the Byzantine Rite Christian that was building the Kaaba. Unless you want to say this Roman Christian was, Egyptian. This Ethiopian Christian was building a pagan building. Unless you want to say that, then so be it. And obviously, we know that the foundation stone of the Kaaba itself had a inscription of what? We had an inscription in the foundation stone of the Gospel of Matthew was in there, right? It's all they're telling you what it is, right? Then we also know that this Ethiopian Christian from the Byzantine Rite, he did what? He had paintings of Mary and Jesus and all the other stuff inside of the Kaaba during the lifetime of Muhammad, right? This is all like well-known information. So we know that the Kaaba, right, was a church. Most people, it loses them. They don't even know this stuff. And it's like basic. Mind blown for a lot of you, but it's just basic stuff. Cool. Then we have somebody, right? So we now know the story of Paul. Paul is on his way to Emmaus? No, on the way to somewhere. He's on the way to somewhere. Then he has a vision, like falls on the floor, blind and light, and sound comes out from heaven and all that good stuff. And he's seen, Lord, I used to persecute you, and now blah blah blah. Go to this place, you'll see this guy, and this is how Paul became an apostle, because somebody else could testify that he is one because they had a vision or whatever the case is, and they were touched and they can know and they saw. Cool. So that was his way that to be testified. Somebody else was a witness to it. Cool. So now, who was Muhammad's witness? Muhammad had a vision. He saw the risen Christ in the skies, sitting on a throne, right? Sitting on a throne, calling him, Muhammad, he's abd, he's servant, and telling him, go forth and warn the people, blah, 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 blah. That was the vision. Then what does he do? He goes to Waraka. Waraka tells him, you've seen the nomos, which again, right? Again, for those people who don't know, that is a Greek word letting you know, if you don't know, is tying you back again to the Roman Catholic Church or the Byzantine Rite of Christianity, because it's using the Greek language, right? Because obviously you have the Coptic, that's using Coptic, i.e. the Coptic language, Egyptian language. You have over again in Africa, you have the Ethiopians They're using the Ge'ez Bible, so you would expect some Ge'ez words if it was that, but it's not that. Then you've got over in North Syria, you've got the Byzantine Christians, and they call the Amalekites, and they're using the Greek language within inside of their scriptures and stuff like that. Yeah, and they also use Syriac as well. So like it's letting you know, right? And then he's also saying holy, holy again, which is part of the Byzantine, right? It's part of what the church fathers said during the Chalcedonian during the whole Chalcedonian Council, blah, blah, blah. So it's letting you know again, yeah, is these Byzantine right Christians that are present in Mecca doing these things and confirming that Muhammad is a Rasul, an apostle, blah, 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 and a prophet to these people. Like it's all there for people to see, but most people will not see it, right? Most people just will never, ever see it at all. But that is what it is. Like, the claim is Muhammad is an apostle of the Christian God. And it's like, it baffles me where people just go elsewhere because they don't understand history. They don't understand history. Anyways, cool. So I've laid a foundation for that. But it was amazing to see that, these Christians from the Byzantine church, yet again, yeah, writing about what took place in the 6th century underneath Abraham, right? We know from the Islamic works that the individual or religious figure with Abraham, who was his bishop, yeah, who was crowned by him after he built his cathedral, right, or was enthroned by him after he built his cathedral that he sent out to preach amongst the people and get them to do pilgrimage, blah, 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 was an individual named Muhammad. We find the Greeks, Christians, writing about Abraham and his bishop. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? We've got Islamic works talking about Abraham and his religious figure. And then we've got in the 9th, 10th century over, somewhere Greek-speaking individuals writing about Abraham, right? And his religious figure as well, okay? But they give him a made-up name. Scholars will tell you it's a made-up name called Saint Gregentius, obscuring the fact that it was Muhammad. But then I have to ask myself, did they really obscure the fact based on persecution, or did they just drop the clues in there to let you know this blessed one is actually Muhammad? Oh my God. Hey, listen. Reading, again, like reading history is fun, but you have to use some form of deductive reasoning and logic. Like you have to. Most people be like, Kalan, I don't, unless another scholar says what you're saying, I don't agree with you. And even if they do say it, I bet you I can find you 10 other scholars that says something completely different and that tells you that Muhammad was something else. I'm like, cool, do whatever you want to do in it, like whatever you want to do. But this is what's written. Okay, this is what's written. Unless you want to say, for example, okay, so we have Greek-speaking Christians writing about, in the 10th century, writing about Abraham. All right, that's a fact. They're writing about Abraham's religious figure, who they call an apostle and who they call a prophet. But let's just say that person is completely unnamed in their scripture, right? Completely unnamed, even though they give him a pseudegraphical name. Right? But then you have within side of Arabian Muslim literature, them writing as well about Abraham in the 6th century, about his religious figure, who's said to be a prophet also, who's said to have brought a new religion as well. And what else? But they give him the name Muhammad. But then some people be like, no, I don't even care. I don't care. They're not one and the same people. Somehow, like they'll give me some story. I'm like, cool, do what you want to do, man. Say what you want to say. But I'm giving you some like brand new, fresh information. All right, cool. Muhammad means praised one. Yep. Life and works of Saint Gregentius, Archbishop of Zafar, introduction, critical edition, and translation. Yep. Powerful. Damascus is Damascus. Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's it. towards Damascus. Okay, late to the stream, so I'll rewatch this. As Roman Catholic, I've heard this rumor so many times. Thank you for putting your time together to make this well-documented stream what I've seen. Yeah, definitely. So I've seen it before. I saw it way back in the day, like it was always like popping, but there was no information to it. Like there was none at all. But fortunately, like we have the information now. Like we literally have the information. If we only understood, right, that the Muslim traditions are really talking about what took place in the 6th century with that Muhammad and Abraha, that Negus, Abraha, if you just knew that, and then you also, like Abraha's inscriptions lets you know that he was from the Roman Christian or the Byzantine, he was a Byzantine Christian. We have Byzantine Christians writing in the 10th century, claiming him as one of theirs and claiming the apostle and prophet that was sent to him as being a Byzantine Christian. We have it in the Islamic records as well, where Muhammad was, authorized as a prophet by a Waraka. Yeah, that was the authority figure for them, Waraka, who was clearly, again, a Byzantine Christian, right? Then you have in the building of the Kaaba, yeah, which was a church, you have again a Byzantine Christian who was an Ethiopian who built the Kaaba, the church, right? So it's all there for you to see. But unfortunately, again, as I said, unfortunately, most of us, we don't read history. We enter into this world via the lens of Muslims, Islam, basically, Islam. And then some of us may be Christians, so therefore we enter it in the lens of, I'm an apologist, I got to defend my faith, yeah, which is Christianity, against the heathen Muslims, okay? So therefore I don't like them, so therefore I don't even care what the Quran says or what the history says. All I know is that I'm against them, and you completely miss everything because you're not starting from a point of sincerity, like of just wanting to know the truth. Like start from that point. I say it to everybody. Start from the point of just wanting to know the truth. Right? If you're a Christian, the Bible tells you, Jesus, JC tells you, the truth will set you free. It's not your beliefs, it's the truth that will set you free. Okay? No matter what you think, yeah, your God does not want you to be a person who doesn't know. Okay? He calls his first followers his disciples, meaning his students. You have to be studious. I don't even know if that's a word. You have to be that studious. You have to be that. You have to be someone who loves knowledge, seeks knowledge. You have to be the flock of Jesus, like truly, right? Be that way inclined, right? For example, like I was a bit left for it. Even if the truth led you to become a Hindu or a Buddhist or a Muslim or a Jew, like follow it. Like follow that path if that is the truth. That is, I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying like you have to be sincere to it. Follow the truth to wherever it leads you. And I'm just telling you plain and simple, right? And like, this is one of those truths here that yeah. People are gonna hate you for my namesake. Them ones there, yeah, because nobody wants to hear that Muhammad of the Quran was actually a Christian. Nobody wants to hear that. Muslims don't want to hear that, and Christians don't want to hear that. I'm telling you now, yeah, nobody wants to hear that. It's much more easier to be hating the other side. It's just easier to do that rather than to say what the evidence says. It's much more easier to do that. So, anyways, but yeah. But if you do start to accept the truth, right, and you learn history, bro, it's exciting, man. It's exciting. It's exciting. Let me quickly read through some of your comments. Jeez, man, like Mental Hotep. Sorry, Kwame was good. Jesus the praised one. Yeah. So I actually went through, I think it's like a AI questions. You was asking AI these questions and stuff. It's very interesting, like your trail of thought and the responses that was given. It was long though. I was just like, bro, this is hey, we're going to Iraq. Hey, bro, we're going everywhere. But yeah, man, it was very interesting to see it. Nonetheless, I know there's a lot of research that I would have to do to really get into your mind and get into the mind of those authors that he was bringing up still. Yeah, what are you selling me on code with Daya? But yeah, is there any like specific questions? Anybody would like to ask some specific questions so we can like get into something that's really juicy? Let me know. Like, let's ask some real specific questions. Please, 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 please do that before I have to go. Yeah. Yeah, ask away those questions. Again, the link is here if you wanted to come on live and actually ask me those questions. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. So, anyways, I've already shown, well, what I've talked about is that Muhammad was a Roman Catholic. So that's what it is. No, Roman Catholic conspiracy to create Islam. Yeah, we'll have to go even further back. We have to go back into big men like Justinian. Justinian, that is the real key player, the person who caused this whole thing, who was the chess player, moving the pieces on the board. Salute to him. Salute to him, indeed. If I had time, I will go through and show you how Justinian like made his moves. Okay. Let's see. Is Islam Christianity? No, Islam is not Christianity. Okay, let me just do that. Let me do that first and foremost, because there is it's too long for me to explain why Islam is not Christianity. I will say to you simply like this: the Quran is a Christian text. It belongs to Christian literature. So the Quran is Christian text, or Christianity, is part of Christianity. Yes. The historical Muhammad and the Muhammad of the Quran were Christians. Okay. That's what I was saying. Now, the Muhammad that you find written about within inside of the Islamic literature, it will be very hard for me to say that individual was Christian. Okay. You can find the Christian elements in there, but it's very hard to say that. And then it's very hard to say that Islam is Christianity, because I would definitely say it has become its own new religion, because it even though its book professes to be of Christian origins and tries to make you live a good Christian life, the dogma that's attached to it makes you how can I put it, negate the Christian elements. So it makes you negate the Trinity. It makes you negate the divine sonship of Jesus. It makes you negate the death, crucifixion, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. It makes you negate a lot of things that is found inside of Christianity. That's not the text, but the dogma that's attached to it. The Hadith literatures, the teachers, everything else attached to it is clearly far from Christianity. Okay, clearly far from it. The Quran. Yeah. I cannot find the Matthew inscription on Kaaba reference. Okay, since you are here, come on, man, you got to ask come on, I fish in the tie. You got to ask the question. You can't just make a statement. Oh, I can't find it. You should say, Cal, like, big man, like, can you show me this, please? Yeah, can you please show me this? Or say, Kalam, yeah, get my attention more. Yeah, I know we're friends and that, but say, Kalam, you're lying. It doesn't say that in there. Why are you lying to the people that it says that? That's what you should do. Get my attention. Do that. And I'll be like, listen, all right, let me come on and show you where it is. So yeah, I'm just bear with me. My computer's just moving a bit slow, so I'll put that up on the screen in a little while for you. See, these are the questions that you need to be asking whilst I'm here. Don't go. Don't let me go and you have these doubts in your mind. I'm here to clear up your doubts. Okay. So bear with me. It's still taking long to load up. I'm just trying to load up my copy of Ibn Ishaq. So it's the Ibn Ishaq, Sirah Rasulullah, the life of Prophet Muhammad, Apostle Muhammad, and by Ghulam. It's by Ghulam. but it's just taking a little while. So forgive me. I will wait a little while for that to come up. And when it does, we'll go through it. There we go. It's come up. I'll be going through the questions in a minute. Okay, cool. Nope, it'll be before this, right? Before the apostles' mission. Okay. The building of the Kaaba. Bum, bum, bum. Okay. Cool. One more. Maybe two more. Or I passed it already. No, maybe I passed it. Sorry. I think I passed it. Here it is. Cool. So it says here, Lath. I don't know. Let me see if it's big enough for you, actually. Let me take away your thing so that it's not hiding it. And then let me make that bigger so it's everybody can actually see it. But no, I can't see it. Okay. Cool. All right. So real quickly, Life of Muhammad by Ibn Ishaq. Yeah, page 86. It's right there. So nobody can't say that we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the reference because you've seen the reference. It says here, Layth ibn Abu Sulaiman alleged that they found a store in the Kaaba 40 years before the Prophet's mission. If what they say is true, containing the inscription, he that soweth good shall reap joy. He that soweth evil shall reap sorrow. Can you do evil and be rewarded with good? Nay, as grapes cannot be gathered from thorns. And then you just have to go down. You see here, there's a little footnote. Do you see this little footnote down here? Yeah, this is where like real scholars, like people who do research, we go to the footnotes of these books. We go down, we scroll down, we scroll. And it says here, look at this. Look what the author wrote here. Yeah. Or the editor, should I say, wrote here. A strange place in which to find a quotation from the gospel. Cross-reference Matthew 7, verse 16. Okay, so there you go. That's the quote inside of the Kaaba of the Gospel of Matthew. Okay, interesting. Okay, hopefully that satisfies you there. Okay, let me just go through. Islam is Christianity. It's a variant. It's the closest branch of the two Tawido Church. Yeah. Okay. Muhammad is comforter in John Gospel. Muhammad, the Sefer of Zerubbabel. There are many forms of Christianity than believe the same, though. Kalam. Yeah, you're right. You are right. That's just an oversimplification of what I said. Okay. I like this name. Dawa Dollarman. Brother, a Christian would never accept your claims. There is no other after Christ, brother. There's no other what? There's no other apostles after Christ. There's no other prophets after Christ. I don't know about that, man. You need to go and read Christian literature to actually understand. Yeah, there is. There's many apostles and many prophets after JC. Bro, read Revelations even. It tells you in there. So yeah, no. It's there. We just people don't want to accept it. Okay, cool. Unit. We've got another super chat coming in from I Fish and a Tie. He says here, do we know the family of Saint Gregentius or his name? Nope. There is nothing in there. As I said, they don't know this. It's this person is unnamed or anonymous. When you read the critical stuff that the scholars are writing, they'll tell you they don't know. But obviously, if what I'm saying is correct, because I could always be wrong. There is 1 in a million chance that I could be wrong. We're looking at the historical Muhammad to being who this individual was. Okay. Muhammad al-Khuzai al-Salami. Here we go. Kalam might be the top 5 best scholar on Islam. I don't agree with everything. Yep. I love, man. Love for that. Okay. Hey, Kalam. Peace, bro. Would love to hear you go deeper into the era of Caleb and Abraha regarding the dispute between Christians and Jews and how Abraha came and saved the Christians. Yeah, that would be good, you know. That would be good. That would be good. That would be good. I'm just thinking, I'm thinking whether to do that or not, simply because I'm trying to get a certain time frame and onwards. But that would be good. That actually would be good. That would be good. That would be good, actually. No, that would be good. I need some Jews. I need some more Jews on the platform so it can really work. How that may fit into the Islamic origins? Yeah, cool. Let me revisit that back again. So, what's the purpose of creating Islam if it was made by the Catholic Church? No, there were intention. Let me just do this. The intention was never to make Islam. The intention of what Islam is now, that was never the intention. Let me just get that straight. Okay? The intention at the time, okay, was for the Abyssinian and Arabian people to be a buffer nation for the Byzantiums against the Persian Sassanid Empire. Okay. And one of the ways of doing that is making sure that we're all on the same page and we are all Christians. That's number one. So there was a whole conversion process that was taking place during the time of Justinian. So that was one of the things. And again, it's always to do with trade as well, to making sure that they can secure proper good trade ties. And then also it was to do, I'm actually simplifying a lot of things though, but so just bear with me to answer this question. And then it was also to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of religion. So we're all Christians, cool, but there is another group of Christians that we are persecuting right now. Okay, the Byzantiums were persecuting the Monophysites or the Miaphysite Christians. Okay, they weren't on it. Okay, they weren't on it, and the Miaphysites were blaming them for everything, like a lot. So they wanted to get the Abyssinians, or this new Abyssinian state created by Abraha, to be in line, to be of the same faith as them in terms of being Diophysite Christians or Chalcedonian Christians. So they orchestrated it. They orchestrated that. They orchestrated the faith element, and they orchestrated the leadership element. So the leadership of Abraham, it seems as though they orchestrated that, and the leadership of Muhammad and his family members, i.e. Amr ibn Kabsha, Kays, all of them, like the people of Ma'ad and Kinda, like powerful tribes at the time, they orchestrated for them to be the ones in power via Abraha. Abraha put them into power and them to follow on in the same trajectory of protecting them and being co-religionists as well. But you have to go back into like the histories to understand the relationship that the Byzantines had. So the previous king, as well, Athanasius as well, had with Muhammad's grandfather, Harith. Okay, you have to understand that whole relationship. And then also Harith, his daughter actually brought in Christianity into the East as well, like into the Lakhmid Empire. Like she brought in Christianity, and then obviously her nephew Muhammad brought it in amongst the Arabs around Central and Northern Arabia as well. So like, you have to really understand the connections, the family connections that was going on, the power was the politics and everything like that was going on. Like to go back into the 6th century and really fully grasp what was taking place is phenomenal. Like even again, Muhammad's family was the ones that led when Caleb first came over into the Arabian Peninsula. Again, it was Muhammad's family that actually, in inscriptions, again, that were the ones responsible for leading Caleb's Ethiopian army in Arabia to overthrow the Jews as well. So it's very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. I would love to talk all day on it. I would love to talk all day on this, but I would really love for people to actually like pick up the books so we can like really go in it together and like we're all on the same page. It'll be sick. It'll be sick. Anyways, let me carry on. Research Saint Caleb, Conquest of Arabia. There you go. The purpose of Catholics creating Islam was to combat and subdue the true Israelites, not Israeli. When you do research, you will begin to understand all religions was created to subdue the Israelites. Ooh, yeah, there's some truth in that. There is some truth in that, but it's more than that though. But there is truth in that, definitely. 100%. I remember hearing about this some years back when I was trying to figure out the origins of Islam. Yeah, that's been going on for like a good 20 years, because growing up, I remember hearing this story. What would you say is the strongest argument against your position? The strongest, okay, which position first? Because I've got many positions. The strongest argument against my position. 7-1. Let me know which position you're talking about quickly, and I'm going to answer that question before I go through any other questions. Okay. So which point in particular, so I can tell you what will be the strongest counter argument to me. Because you know me, I run these models in my head all day long. Like, what would be the counter argument to what I'm saying? So just let me know what point are you talking about, because I've said quite a lot already. And technically each one of the things I've said like deserves a response to. A chart to follow. I think I had a chart up before. Let me see if I can find that chart. I'm still waiting for you to answer me on that. What's it called? Timeline. I had a timeline. That was it. Timeline. Maybe it's on like one of the presentations I did. Yeah, I think it's on the presentation I did. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it for you. Here we go. Let's press play. Stop sharing that. Okay, I'll write it out to come back to me, please. Cool, yeah, I will do. I'll look out for you. Okay, cool. So let me know if you can see that. Give me a second. So let me start that so I know where it is, and then bring myself in. Cool, yeah, right there. That is a nice little timeline. Let's take a snapshot of it, and it'd be cool. So right here on the left, this is to do with the what you would call the Himyarite king. So he's a Himyarite king right here. Sorry. Oh no, there it is. That's a Himyarite king, Method. Okay. He was put in power by the Aksamites. Then Ma'adi Karib, again, another one that was put into power by the Aksamites. Yosef as well, but he rebelled. Then after him was Sumayafa, Ashwa. And then after him, we now have the Abyssinian ruler, which is Abraha, who came into power. After him, we have records that he had a son called Yaksum and Mazruk. Okay. Now, real quickly, again, there we go. So you got this person called Hayun ibn Tha'laba. He was the leader of the Aksamite invasion. That was one of Muhammad's relatives that led that, which is very interesting to know. This happened in 518. Yeah, 518. Then you have obviously down here, you have the Byzantine kings. So you have Justin, and then Justinian the first, and then Justinian the second. And then you have the Aksamite king over here. which is King Caleb. I couldn't put in the rest because I ran out of credits in terms of doing this for free. So this is why you don't need to actually donate, yeah, because I can create loads of like, infographic materials like this for you, but it costs money to actually do it. But, anyways, cool. And then you have down here, down here, ruling from 498 till 528 is Muhammad's grandfather, Al-Harith ibn Amr ibn Hujjar, okay, from the Banu Thalaba. So the same Banu Thalaba, yeah, that's where he's from. And then you have Muhammad's brother, Qais, his other brother called Yazid, okay. These two individuals, Qais technically was ruling, but then Justinian said, you know what, big man, I don't want you to be doing your thing. I don't want you to be the king of the Kinda and the Ma'ad anymore. I want you to like divide that amongst your two brothers, Yazid and Muhammad, which he did. And I want you to come up into like Syria, like Palestine, what's it called? Palestine Prima, Palestine Secondoras, Palestine Tertia. I need to come up to these regions and you're going to be like the king over that region. Yeah. Bad man thing. So that's what he did. And he went up there to be like the over king over like that region. Okay. And then left Yazid to be in charge of the tribe of Kinda. And then he left Muhammad to be in charge of the tribe of Ma'ad. Okay. Very, very interesting stuff. So that's like the timeline. And of course, Abraha was the one who orchestrated all of this as well, because Justinian, you go into Procopius, Justinian was asking for Abraha to basically put Qais back into power because unfortunately, Al-Harith ibn Amir ibn Hujjar, he had taken over, like he was in like the whole mission, the Ethiopian mission, and he was taking over like Iraq. So he had taken over Iraq, like running out the Lahmids. But then, boy, the Lahmids came up on him and like snuffed him and snuffed a good few members of his family. So there's like a whole power vacuum where the Lahmid kings actually came in and started to rule his territory, hence why Qais, Yazid, and Muhammad didn't have Qais didn't have a territory to rule. So Justinian got Abraha to kind of fight back, gain that territory, and put him in power. Then he was like, scrap that. I want Qais to come up and to rule where his grandfather used to rule, up in my sides, up in Palestine, and just put your brothers in play to rule over the two kingdoms that you used to rule, which is the Ma'ad tribe and the Kinda tribe. So again, I'm saying a lot, but if you read the history books, you will know what I'm saying in it. Like it's one of them ones, it's long, but just go back and just read the history books so you can know this stuff. All right, let me quickly go through some of these questions. The scriptures say prophets will only come from the Israelites, no other nations. Yep, you are correct. But guess what? Spiritually now, Christians are now, of Israel. Like you have to go and read like Christian literature to understand it, because it says in these last days, the Spirit of God, Spirit of the Lord will be put on like the babes and they will be prophesizing and stuff like that. So you'll have to understand like how Christian literature like took old school Old Testament and made it fit. So it's long to go through. But yeah, I see where you're coming from. But if you understand Christianity, you know that it's been overridden. Do you have any information about the 622 Arab kingdoms in the Syrian desert? I don't. See, this is what I'm saying. That there's a certain period of time where it's like completely empty, where we don't have any information, readily available information, because I'm sure there is information, but it's not readily available. The conversion was in response to Christians massacres that was taking place by Jews in the peninsula. So they sent in the Abyssinians. The conversion was in response to Christians, because that was yes, yeah. Therefore, the change is to be able to integrate extreme anti-idol worshipping. Jews, yeah. You need to do a show on the Jewish component. Yeah. So we'll work it out. Do you know what? Yeah, because I'm working my way through. Like, first of all, I had to set the ground for the Abyssinian origin of Islam. Then now I'm like slyly and slowly bringing the Byzantine elements. And then, technically speaking, we could bring in the Jewish pre-elements as well. That was there to formulate Islam. So it's like it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I can't lie, it is. I wish somebody would help me. That's all. Somebody help me, please. We can go further in this world if you did. Can we get a chart to follow all these peoples, bro? Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, bro. Let me show you something. Yeah, family. Let me tell you something. Yeah, secretly, yeah, I got a business to run. Not just one, I got multiple businesses to run. Then I've got like a family to look after. I've got a wife and kids, Man's got. Then I have like, okay, business, family. Then like I'm doing this. Like, I wish there's not enough hours in the day to do what you lot want me to do, Like, and nowadays, like I refuse. Let me just put it out there. I refuse to take my own money to do my passion projects, like these stuff. I refuse anymore. Like I've done it. When you've done like a good solid 10 years of like building Titans TV, over 60,000 subscribers on this channel, like building, like all your own money going into something and doing all. It's like, fam, like, I'm not doing it anymore, and that's why you don't see me being consistent. It's like, it's a passion, isn't it? Like I'm just doing this, like there's no marketing. Normally I'll market the shows, do a thumbnail, do all this stuff, put all the meta. I'm like, I ain't got time, man. Sorry, man. I don't have time. Like, family, if you don't want to support Titans TV, like do what the good brother Fish in the Tie does. Like donate. And I promise you, the money that you donate, yeah, it will actually go towards doing certain things for the channel. But myself, I've stopped. I'm just dropping stuff to you when I have my own free time, or when I want to like, I just learned something nice. I want to just share with you guys. Other than that, I'm not putting in the effort that I know this channel deserves. But if anybody would like to actually take over Titans TV and be the face, like, let me know when it, like, he's my burden. He's my burden. All right, cool. Anyways, let me keep on reading. Okay, I'll write out and come back. Okay, cool. Salute for breaking that down. There's a lot to read on by that era, 100%. Jeez, with the super sticker, So I'm saying, I Fish and Tie be dropping, dropping. From my understanding, you are saying, okay, cool, that Muhammad was a Christian apostle, and his followers morphed into a new religion. What's the strongest Orthodox Muslim argument against this view? Muhammad was a Muslim, but shalom. Muhammad was a Muslim. So let me think. Okay, from my understanding, you're saying that Muhammad was a Christian apostle, and his followers morphed into a new religion. Cool. What is the strongest Orthodox Muslim argument against that view? Okay, so Muhammad is definitely not Christian. Okay, so can't be Christian, even though he said I haven't brought a newfangled religion, right? And I'm just following after, the apostles, the prophets, blah blah blah, Jesus, and his disciples. So it's like, okay, the last prophet and disciples was Jesus and his disciples, and I'm not bringing a new religion. I'm just following in. Then why are you? What are you then if you're not that? But anyways, cool. Apart from that, Muhammad was a Muslim. He brought a new religion to the, he brought a new religion. That's number one. And it's called Islam. But again, I'm wrong. If I say that, it's wrong because they don't claim it's a new religion because they claim Adam had that religion. Okay, cool. So Muhammad was a Muslim and his religion abrogates the previous religions. That could be a good argument. Cool. His religion abrogates the previous religions, and he definitely wasn't a Christian because the Christians have gone astray. Yeah, they pray this every day. So the Christians have gone astray. So therefore, Muhammad could definitely not be a Christian because the Christians are astray. And he brought back an old religion in a new form, and that abrogates all the previous religions, and you don't need to read or think about those previous religions and books and prophets, blah, 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 because Muhammad is the seal of the prophets, the last prophet, and that is the religion. That's most probably what they would say. But then my counter argument to that would be this. So what religion was he before he became a Muslim? Before Muhammad became a Muslim, what religion was he? Now, this is nothing new. I think I've showed you before with Ibn Kathir, and he shows that scholars were asking these questions. Was he a Jew? Did he follow the religion of Moses? Did he follow the religion of Noah? Did he follow the religion of Abraham? Or did he follow the religion of Jesus? Was he a Christian? So these are the questions that are already up there in Islamic scholarship. The layman, they would never think this and never ask these questions, but that would be it. Cool. So I would ask, so what religion was he before that? He didn't have a religion. Yeah, okay. So if he, all right, let's just say he didn't have a religion, which you know that's not true. Everybody has a religion. So what religion was his family? Well, his father's name is Abdullah, and his mother's name was Amina. These sound very Christian, but they could, let's say it could be Jewish, but it can't be that because Abdullah is actually a Christian. Abdullah, Allah is a Christian at that time. Allah is a Christian God. So Allah is Christian. And then Amina is also a Christian name, to be faithful. And then, like, you know, she was looking at the castles in Busra, which is to do with like a Christian city. So it's like, then Abdullah used to go to a monk's cell and speak to him, the monk there called Isa. So it's like, they're telling you they were bloody Christians, to be honest with you. So it's like, I don't get it. And then, okay, let's just pretend still he's not a religion. He's still not a religion. Okay, cool. So why, clearly your wife Khadija is a Christian, right? But why are you going to another Christian to give you authority, to authenticate your visions? Like, you went to somebody who you thought was the most learned person, who had to be somebody who would have, you saw as somebody that is like a mentoring person, that you saw their word as like, I'll take their word. Like, that's somebody who you would get guidance from. So clearly you was getting guidance from a Christian, i.e. Waraka. So it's like, I don't know, man. There's no way to twist it. Like, of course he was a freaking Christian. The whole story is that, you know, there he was a Christian. But what would be another strong argument? They were pagans. They were all pagans. That was it. So, okay, all right, Muslim, Mr. Muslim, you rather say that your prophet was a pagan or a polytheist or came from a polytheistic household than say he was a Christian? Yes. Naam. That's what we would rather say. It's funny. Absolutely funny. Let me quickly go through. Okay, this chart is good enough. Perfect. Lo, Kalam, you got videos with 1 million views. You made Speaker's Corner world famous. You can't fall back. I know. But I can, because I don't have, do you know what it is? I don't have, for me, I like things that are interesting to me. And like, I have a passion for it. This is why I'm an entrepreneur, and this is why I've had so many businesses. It's like, as soon as I lose interest, I don't really care. I don't care if it's popping or not. A lot of my businesses I've literally given away to friends to be like, hey, yo, it's making a lot of money right now, but hold that, take that, because that will suit you better than it would suit me. I'd rather just start from scratch and do something new and different. But being at Speaker's Corner, consistently recording and doing all that stuff, it's like, it's not really a bit of me, to be honest with you. And having conversations with certain individuals, you know, doing like talk of the town shows, like after a while, it's like, these people are not the type of people I want to talk with. So I've lost interest in it, to be honest with you, unfortunately. I wish I didn't, but I have. Islam origins, formerly known as Speaker's Corner, and maybe some of the references in that conversation can be start for the Jewish component. Yep. Definitely, yeah. All right, bro. Do your group still do Kemetic philosophy and miniature schools. Kemetic Kofi, salute Kemetic Kofi. I haven't been like chilling with my Kemetic community like I used to, so I don't really know what's going on with the Kemetic community like that. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Some things I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Okay. I'm writing a book on tombs, usuries, and inscriptions from 30 AD to one. Ooh, this sounds good. I listened to you for a break. I love that. I would love to help you with this though. Yeah. All right. I'm down. I'm down. I'm down. Jeez, that sounds good though. Okay. I'm obviously I assume most of your stuff may be coming from Egypt. Is there any in Rome? Ooh. Let me not get sidetracked. Okay, the Jews definitely has a reference of an Arab prophet saving the Israelites in their writings in the 6th century. Sefer of Zerubbabel and others have converted to Judaism since. Yep. There is a something in there, but I think it's later than 600. So the 6th century. But I'll have to go back and check. Okay. The Nazarenes are the first. Yep. Cool. Okay. Allah is not a Christian god, and La is just the contraction of Illah. Yeah, but Allah is definitely not a Christian god. It is part of pagan gods. So I think there is at least 3 pagan gods mentioned inside of the Quran. The 3 daughters of Allah, which is Allat, Al-Uzza, and Manat. Yep. But yeah, when it comes to Allah, okay, so again, Allah was used amongst the pagans and it was used amongst the Christians. But in terms of like inscriptions, like check this out. Inscriptions to do with pagan deities ceased to exist in the Arabian Peninsula from the 5th century onwards. So all of the inscriptions that you would see in Arabia from the 5th century onwards were all said to be monotheistic. So they're either Jewish inscriptions, Christian inscriptions, or just like we can't tell. So we just label them as monotheistic. Okay. If you want someone to find out that information on, you go to what's his name, Ahmed Jalad, Haitham Siddiqui, as well as who else talks on this as well? Yeah, there's a few people that talk on this. Actually, I did even a screenshot today. Let me just check something. 1 second. I think I've got something on this. Let's see. Rahman before it's further up. I believe it's further up. Let's just quickly see if it says anything here. Because I took a screenshot of this. This is it. It is salient to point out that based on approximate chronological dating of the Quranic surahs, theonyms in the Islamic scriptures seem to have evolved in 3 phases. In the earliest phase, the Quran uses Rabb, shifting to Al-Rahman, and finally culminating in an almost exclusive use of Allah in the later surahs. Rabb simply meant Lord and was meant for imminent Baitilic divinities. Its use in the earliest parts of the Quran also correspond to a monolatric and immanentist usage. By contrast, Al-Rahman was clearly associated with Moses in the Quran, the rejection of image worship, which appears in later Meccan verses. Eventually, however, Allah became the universal theonym, subsuming both Rabb and Al-Rahman in the service of an Abrahamic and fully biblicalized monotheistic that took shape in Medina. Actually, let me just type in Rahman before 1 second. What's it called? Rahman before Muhammad. That will answer your question nicely. Rahman before Muhammad. Okay. Where's my screen share? Screen share. I need to get moving though. It's getting late. So if you don't have a chance, just go and find this Rahman before Muhammad. The longer title is A Prehistory of the First Peace in Islam. Let me just type in Allah. Let's see if we can just see this. Let's see. Okay, no, not that one. Yeah, I can't find it. I can't find it just like this. But it'll be very interesting for you to note that yeah, there was no pagan inscriptions from the 6th century, sorry, in the 5th century onwards. But I can't find it right now, unfortunately. How do you know? Sorry, Brother Kalam. How do you know Khadija obviously was Christian? So cool. How do we know? If you read, it tells you that Khadija was learnt in the Christian books, and then her family members were Christians. So she had two cousins, such as Warqa and Uthman, who were both Christians. We also find her knowing somehow. She did a test for Muhammad to know whether it's an angel, Gabriel, or not, and all these things here. You know, it's well, the test alone will let you know that she is coming from a biblical background. So it can either be Jewish or it could be Christian, right? And then when you know the trade routes and the trade throughout that time, she's going, for example, to Abyssinia, and then she's trading with the Byzantines as well. It seems as though there is clearly a Christian connection and link there. There's other things that can break down that can clearly let you know that Khadija was a Christian. I think we even have a article. I think a very good article as well is Khadija and her Christian. Let me type in Khadija. I've got some books on Khadija or some articles on Khadija. Let's see. No. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Okay. What's this? I don't want no AI assistant. This ain't even the one. No, this ain't even the one. Sorry. Bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. I've read too much stuff, you know. Okay, let's go here. Since you're not giving me the Khadija that I want. Nope, that's not what I want. So let's try here. Cousin. Okay. I don't know why my computer's taking so long nowadays. Didn't used to be this bad. Okay, cool. Let me read. Okay. Let's see, it's interesting to know, yeah, how much I have to read to actually give you guys some good information. Okay, the see, this is the usage now. The monotheistic cousins of Muhammad's wife Khadija. Very good read by Michael Lecker, Professor Michael Lecker. Muhammad's first wife, Khadija bint Khuwailid, belonged to a clan of the Quraysh tribe called Asad ibn Abdul Uzza. This biographical detail is crucial in the analysis of the literary evidence about her and her family. Khadija had a well-known paternal cousin who was Christian named Warqa ibn Nawfal, another paternal cousin of hers who was Christian, Uthman ibn al-Hurayth. So we have two cousins of her being Christian. So, like, you know, the odds of her knowing scripture, like, you know, so we know that she knew scripture. We knew that she knows how to test to know. She knows about angels. So she could either be Jewish or Christian. And the fact that she has Christian cousins kind of leans to the fact that she was more likely to be a Christian rather than a Jew, right? Okay, attempted on the eve of the Hijrah to gain control of Mecca. The Christian faith of the cousins belonged in discussion of Muhammad's spiritual environment and his preparation for the call to prophethood. After all, Muhammad and Khadija, both of whom were descendants of Khuzay, were married for a quarter of a century, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. 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 Cool. Yeah, this is a very good read. Yeah, it's a very good read. Okay. Yeah, very, very good read. I'm just going to scroll through it real quickly. And then again, from Ethiopian background. Okay, look at this. Another Byzantine Christian. Look at this. Unlike Warqa, Khadija's other cousin Uthman ibn al-Hurayth, was involved in politics. And his faith, no. Warqa was involved in politics as well, but that's a story for another day. See, sometimes, when you catch scholars and you realize you know more than them. But anyways, and his faith was associated with his attempt to control Mecca with Byzantine backing. His mother was probably Ethiopian, i.e. Christian. Muhammad, who was his younger contemporary, was witness to this attempt. Uthman's attempt to control Mecca took place during the 2.5, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Cool. See, I'm telling you about these Byzantine Christians, these Byzantine Christians are just there. Ethiopians are just there. Just there. Okay. Anyways, I'm not going to go into that because it's just long to go into all of this. But yeah, I've given you the source where you can go and read. So hopefully that helps. None of the invaders of Kemet can be trusted, neither their children carrying their narratives. Hey, I love you, Muhammad was pagan, but knew about Talmudic stories, Christian non-canonic stories. Muslims believe angels came to Arab pagans with rabbinic and Christian knowledge. Lol. Okay, all right, that's a very good. See, this would be a good counter argument to me, right? So, Muhammad was pagan. Okay, so he was pagan. Let's say he was a polytheistic Arab pagan. Cool. Muhammad was a polytheistic Arab pagan, okay, but knew about Talmudic stories, okay, but he still knew Jewish stories. So there were either Jews around him that taught him the stories, or there were Jews that were present that taught the Arabs around him these stories. Hence, he knew these stories. Cool. Christian non-canonic stories, and again, there must be Christians around him, or the Christians taught the Arabs around him these stories. Muslims believe angel came to Arab pagan with rabbinic and Christian knowledge. Muslims believe. That one is a bit tricky. Don't trust them is the point. Oh, okay. If you put yourself on the corner above and bigger, it will help. The view. Okay. I can only do down. And this is the only new layout. Add item. Media slot. Hopefully you can see me still. I'm just following your instructions. Camera slot. Okay, where is that layout then? Is that better? Let me know if it's better. I've just changed it a bit. Cool. Let's say, okay. When and how did Islam elevate the comic book Muhammad to above Isa? Okay. When and how did Islam elevate the comic book Muhammad to above Isa? That's a very good question. I would say that the only time we have proof of that is during the Abbasid period, and definitely from like the the 9th century onwards. So from about the 9th century is when we have definitive proof of that. Okay. Yes, that's right. Reclaim Muhammad. Hashtag reclaim the Quran. Yeah, Christians, especially if you are Catholic. So what I mean by that is, no, let me type in St. Gregentius now, because I'll let you know who actually celebrates St. Gregentius. Hold on. Let me share my screen. So, okay, St. Gregentius of Safar, St. Gregentius of Ethiopia, St. Gregentius of Himyar. Okay, who of us Christians actually deals with him? 1 second. Okay, let's go here. So, who celebrates him? Who celebrates him? Who celebrates him? I'm sure it doesn't tell us who celebrates him. Am I tripping? I really thought it does tell us who celebrates him. I know, obviously, Anglicans, we do. Okay. See, you know when you're just doing things on the fly, apologies, just bear with me for a hot second. Come on. Internet, don't slow down on me now. Eh? That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. All right, forgive me. Let me do Chalcedonian. Chalcedonian. No, that don't make no sense. Chalcedonian Christianity. Let's see. Okay, so it's upheld by Catholics, Eastern Orthodox, Lutheranism, Anglicanism, Calvinism. Okay, so if you belong to any of these, yeah, if you are a Christian and you belong to, if you're a Catholic, yeah, if you are an Eastern Orthodox, if you are a Lutheran, if you are an Anglican, and if you are a Calvinism, you guys should be reclaiming, Saint Muhammad with me and reclaim the Quran, because it teaches, I'm claiming, let me say this just to be on the safe side. I'm claiming it teaches what we stand on, which is Diaphysite Christianity. Okay, so I'm saying that's what it teaches. Cool. Callum, do you still go to the corner, brother? Cooking. No, but I actually do want to go soon just to see what's been going on. I do. Okay, he tests if it's an angel stripping off clothes until he leaves. Yeah, there you go. Waraka was blind, they say. Yeah, they say. Peace and blessing. If brother Kalam have a cult, I have the Cult of Ra books on worship in Egypt. You once recommended a brilliant book. Thanks. Yeah. Bruko, that's a sick book right there. I love that book. No, let me come out of this. Cool. So yeah, family tree. Hopefully, I've given you guys hour and a half. Hopefully, I've answered all your questions. Hopefully, I've put in the work and you lot appreciate it. Let me know. But I think I'm going to go now, and I've put in my service to the community. If there's any questions that you have for me, drop in the comment section, because you lot technically give me fuel. You give me content to talk about and on, right? Right now, I'm working on, what am I working on? I'm working on I've already created it. So I have got the curriculum. I have the course that I've created. I'm actually wanting to expand on it. So right now there is eight modules or 8 lessons. And I want to get it in as part of Black history into England first. And And right now it's catered towards KS3, which is, people year 9, etc. 8, year 9. If you're like 13, 14, you lot should be able to get down with this. Like very simple information. And it teaches, it's called Abraha and the Red Sea Empires. So it literally goes, let me see if I've got maps up. Do I have the maps? Because I was going to expand it to something else. Let's see. Let's go through some of the maps that I've got up, actually. How do I go through it like that with you guys? How do I go through it with you guys? That's a question. Okay. I put on gallery view. Yeah, there we go. Share screen. Window. Maps. Share. Boom. Yeah. So yeah, like perfect. Yeah, we're gonna go through it all. So Abraha and the Red Sea Empires. So I've basically allowed it to be really around Abraha as the main character, to be honest with you, because it's like perfect timing, unites everything. So we're gonna go through the Aksumite Empire, as we can see Aksum on the, I don't know if you all can see that down here, Aksum, and when it ruled over here on the Himyar Empire. And then of course when Abraha took over, we're going to go through all of that. We're going to go through the Hijaz, the Ghassanids kings, the Lakhmid kings, Kinda, where they rule. Ma'ad should be roughly around here as well, and the rest of Yemen. Then you're going to learn about other, African Christian kingdoms that technically was part of the Aksumite Empire in the 6th century. So you're going to learn about the Elodia, Nobatia, the Beja or the Bleminese, and you're going to learn about Makoria as well, because these two, the Bleminese and the Nobatians, there is a letter that they were supposed to come over into Arabia to help out the Aksumites take over the Jewish territory, basically. All right, so it's very interesting to see that. And again, that is not Justinian, sorry, that was Justin who was supposed to do that, and to find the letters as well. Actually, can I show you guys? No, let me just go through this. So yeah, we're going to go through that. You're going to understand the empires that were there, Nobatium, Mokoria, Lodia. You're going to understand the trade routes as well. Can we see it? Yeah, the trade routes. No, this is not the trade routes. Yeah, but the trade routes, so you can understand like where they moved, where they operated. Let me go through. Yeah, this is nice. See? Yeah, there's no Mecca. Like Mecca was definitely not on any trade routes at all. So you can see from Coptus, they went over here to Bernike or Myos Homos, and then they will go down to Ptolemaios, or they will go, this should be Adulis down here, and then they will go over into Mukha, and into Aden and all these different areas, into all these, into Arabia. Like this is where the trade really took place. So you can kind of see like what was going on, how the Nubians used to come over into Arabia, or how the Ethiopians used to come into Arabia, how the Byzantines used to trade from this region, from Egypt up here into Arabia, or from Petra sides as well. It's very interesting to understand the trade routes, where ideas kind of came from and went to. It's very interesting stuff. Again, it's just got the little stuff on the maps. Let's see, what's this one? Yeah, very interesting stuff, man. Very interesting stuff. But you know what's interesting? Let me drop this, because I had this the other day. Yeah, let me just show you, who the people who changed, the earliest individuals to change the Christianness of the Quran and Muhammad narrative is the Umayyads underneath Muawiyah. He was the one, right? They literally, in the 660s, I believe, 680s, they marched in 660s, maybe. Sorry, no, before that, before he ruled 640 to 661. So yeah, they marched in. They messed up Maghrib. So this is original Mecca. This right here is where the original Mecca was. There was the original Kaaba was. Story for another day, where the original Muhammad was. Story again for another day. They destroyed all of that, done their thing. Then you got the Zubairids. They came in. They took what they destroyed. They took, you know, they took what they destroyed from the church of the original Muhammad, brought it up into Mecca, built up this new Kaaba in Mecca. Um, you know, they ruled, but then again, the Umayyads came in, destroyed that once in 683. That got rebuilt, came back again 693, completely destroyed the Kaaba. Like the Kaaba was completely demolished. There was nothing there again. And then afterwards, in 697, they built a completely new Kaaba, gave it a completely new story, gave a completely new backdrop of Muhammad. Like they literally changed the trajectory of how early Islam or this early Christianity was developing. Is the Umayyads. If you really want to blame a group of people, it will be the Umayyads. But anyways, let me come out of that. Let me come out of that. But interesting stuff, as I said, like I've got this course that I've worked on. It's there, it's produced. I'm actually going to start getting a few of you guys in to come in and do like a little pilot, kind of understand the course, get involved and see how you lot can make it better for me. And I'm going to roll this out, inshallah, nationally. Once it's rolled out nationally, it will go worldwide, right? Because, as I said, I'm not dealing with apologetics that most people deal with or polemics that most people deal with. I just deal with the truth. And the truth is like historical truths. Once you start teaching your children historical truths, they're not going to be fooled by Islam or Muslims, right? And especially Black people as well. Unfortunately, I guarantee you, Black people will be the biggest, stuck for Allah for saying this, the biggest terrorists, the biggest whatever it is, because they don't have a proper identity, right? They don't know themselves. They don't know, you know, from their culture. I'm talking about Black people as in Caribbean Blacks, okay, in England, right? Because the other Black people are African Blacks, and they're technically not black like that. And what I mean by black like that, I'm talking about Black culture is based upon slavery. Africans, you never went through slavery. You went through colonization. It's a different type of thing. So, anyways, those people who've gone through slavery, they're the ones who are suffering in America as well with Black identity movements. You see it all popping up and springing up, and they are the most vulnerable ones to join like Muslim groups and get radicalized and be used as fodder for them, right? But if you really started teaching these people and teaching the world, it doesn't even need to just. But I'm starting it with Black. Put into Black history until it becomes like this is just part of history, right? If you taught them and you teach the world what really took place in the 6th century, and you teach them like, no, Christianity is not the white man's religion, right? We've just shown you. You have over here, you have in Egypt, yeah, which are African people, they had Christianity. You have, go further down in Sudan and Nubia, you have like at least 4 different kingdoms right there. Makoria, Alodia, Nobatia, the Beja people, they were African Christians. They're Christians before England was Christian, became Christians, right? Before America was Christians. These people, Africans, were Christians already. Then you go down into Aksum, they were Christian. The Aksumite Empire, they were Christians. Okay, there's a lot, even to the Barbara, which is like Somalia, they had Christianity as well. Over now into the Himyarite / Habashi Empire, they were Christians. These were Black people who spread Christianity as well. Then you got the Ghassanids, Christians, Black again, Lahmids. Then you have the Arab people, like they were Christians as well. Like start teaching them like what really happened in history. Okay, and you teach them this Christian history. Let them understand that this is all part of their legacy. Yeah, Christian history is part of your legacy as people over here in the United Kingdom, no matter what ethnicity you belong to. It's part of, because we are a Christian country. It's part of your history. Understand, you know, the trace of the lineage of your Christianity. You're supposed to be Anglican Christians, right? If you're in England, yeah, but you've allowed Reformation, and then all other groups have sprung up and just corrupted your stuff. Like, but anyways, let's leave that for another day. Like, teach them their history. Teach them like what really happened in the 6th century. Teach them that these people have taken, yeah, one of your saints, right? They've taken one of your literature and they've revamped it to create their own thing. It's your time to reclaim, because look at that. When the Gnostics took Christian literature, twisted up the teachings, twisted up, Jesus, who Jesus was, and taught that he used to kill people and all this other stuff. Like, we fought for that. And we said, no, the Gnostics, we deal with the historical Jesus. The historical Jesus didn't do that. See how we reclaimed it and we fought for it? But now you have one of your saints have been taken over by other people, an other group. It's time for you to start fighting back, man, and say, no, that we have him canonized as one of our saints. Yeah, it's one of our saints underneath Abraham. Yeah, who brought in this, this Catholic religion into Arabia. Right? These are one of our saints. We're going to reclaim that story. You know that text that you got in your hand called the Quran? That's also part of our stuff. That's our story. Let's reclaim it. That's what Christians over here in the UK should be doing. That's what in the world should be doing furthermore. Yeah? And then start saying to them, like, prove it. I want you to prove that your Muhammad was the one that wrote the Quran. Prove it. Sorry, authored the Quran or orated the Quran. Prove it. You're telling me your Muhammad, the illiterate Bedouin man, was the one responsible for the Quran. It's impossible, because scholars will tell you, this was not a work of oratory or orally produced. This is not an oral work. This is clearly written down work. The person had to write it. It's gone through redaction, editing process. It's not orally. It's not, a combination of stories that somebody heard. We understand that there is subtext. We understand where the literature comes from. This comes from a well-learned person. So tell me again, how did your illiterate prophet do this? You're lying. What you've created is a fiction. This is Christian literature. Anyways, when you guys are ready to reclaim it, let me know. Yeah, I'll be here with you guys. Yeah, reclaim. All right, cool. Let's not mislead the Black community, please. Africans sure went to slavery. Majority of Sokoto Caliphate citizens is what is today Nigeria. Slaves. Okay. Okay, let me quickly go back up before I go. Callum, do you still? No, okay, I went through that. Okay, okay, yeah, we went through that. Cool. What do we do with the violent verses in the Quran? We accept them. Okay. Unfortunately, we haven't read up. What's the canon called? If you understood Byzantine law, yeah, like understand Christian law, it's because we're so far removed. Yeah, we don't even understand Christian law. Go back to 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th century, read up Christian law, and you would think that is more barbaric than what you find in the Quran. I'll leave it like that. I'll leave it like that. What you think is barbaric that's inside of the Quran is because we're using our 21st century mind and sensibilities to be like, no, we wouldn't do that. But then we forget about the Inquisition. We forget about the burning of witches. And this is all like done via the church, etc. Like you forget about, cutting off people's noses. You forget about, what's called mutilations. You forget all of this stuff, this whipping stuff that we used to do, hanging people. You forget that, right? Because as a society, we've moved past that, right? But you don't understand. This is part of, again, the good, the bad, the ugly. Let's tell the truth. Yeah? You're talking about anti-Semitism. Listen, Christians were the worst. Yeah? The worst in history for that. Okay? Let's not sugarcoat stuff. Let's tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. As I said again, the truth will set us free. Understand what we did as a people, as humanity. Okay? But yeah, anyways. Let me go. Can anyone take this course? Yeah, of course, anyone can take this course. That's what I'm gonna do. You'll be the first student. Love that. Yeah, because we'll do a pilot to make sure that it's running smoothly. And then I want reviews and evaluation to be like, do you think this is suitable enough for somebody who is 13, 14? And then obviously I'm going to teach you as an adult, so I'll be giving you adult level education stuff as well as an add-on to be like, this is where it will stop for a 13-year-old, but this is where it will continue for you guys as adults. Yeah. So Sassanid's hijacked Islam. Pretty much, pretty. Well, I wouldn't say the Sassanids, but pretty much the people of uh, let me be more technical with that. The people of the previous Sassanid Empire that was taken over by them, those people kind of did change it to fit their own image. Yeah. Okay. How do I keep in touch with you? Yeah, Kofi, just send me an email and I'll get you my WhatsApp number so we can keep in contact. Okay. Yes, slavery did happen all over Africa. Yep. Any barbarian by definition means barbarian without Christianity. It's technical. It's more technical than that. Especially when we're talking about Greek works and how it's written and where it's supposed to be. Yeah. He's ours now. Okay, cool. The Ottoman never did anything good. This was bad ways. Okay, it's all been found a grave mark where still they carry an Orthodox cross, which confirms that Christianity was known here during pre-Islamic times. Yep. That is in North Somalia. Yeah. There you go. It's all there, man. As I said, like a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be saying is going to be just like in the next 10 years. They'll be like, yeah, we found the stuff in Saudi Arabia. We found the crosses. We found this. We found. Do you know what I found interesting? No, I'll tell you what I did today. Let me just, before I go, what I found very interesting was the Jabub. Where did I do it? Let me just type it in quickly. Jabub. Yeah, there you go. All right, cool. Let me see if I can share my screen. So yeah, because I didn't actually check the location of this where this was found. So this is the Sabaic writing, late Sabaic writing that has the Bismillah, Bismillah al-Rahman. So this is during Abraha's time. We have this inscription that now the Muslims have, right? Cool. So that inscription, I was like, oh yeah, but where was it found again? Where was it found? This isn't right. Is this it? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I was like, all right, cool. It's cool. It's found in this region. All right, cool. Let me go into the coordinates. Let me just bring it up real quickly. Bear with me. Yeah. Oh, my computer's running mad slow. So slow. So slow. All right, cool. Yeah, so I brought it up. Yeah, cool. So I brought it up here and I was like, oh yeah, look at this. Ah, cool. It's in the Taiz and Ib region, yeah, where the Hubeish, i.e. the Habesha people are. Do you remember I brought up the map of where Abyssinia is? Yeah. Let me just, and I was like, right, and it's literally in that region as well that we find the very first inscriptions of the Bismillah that links back to the time of Abraham. I was like, look at that. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you lot don't know what I'm talking about, let me just quickly show you this. Where are we? Yeah. This. Where is it? Oh, come on. No, maybe I don't have it in this one. It's basically okay, so that's the inscription, but where is the map of Abyssinia? Yeah, it's coming now. So yeah, basically here, yeah, look at that, the map of Abyssinia. So this area here, as described in the 1st century and 6th century work of where Abyssinia is, right? This region all the way here, yeah, is considered to be Abyssinia, Habesha lands. right? And then we find the very first inscription of the Bismillah where in Habesha lands. So it's like everything that I'm saying, yeah, everything that I'm saying, as I'm saying to you guys, yeah, listen, yeah, the more they do archaeology, the more they publish their books, yeah, everything that I've been talking about in the next 10 years is going to be proven to be completely true. It's going to be like mainstream, like, yeah, we knew that, fam. We knew the Abyssinians started Islam. Yeah, fam. You're saying nothing. You ain't saying nothing new, Callum. You ain't saying nothing new. Tell us something new, fam. Yeah, we knew about this way back. That's what everybody's going to be pretending like. Everybody that's been chatting shit, they're going to be saying this. I'm guaranteeing you. Yeah, we knew this was Christianity from day one. Yeah, look, we've got the Christians' inscriptions of the Bismillah, El Rahman. Yeah, we knew this. We knew this long time. Like, yeah, okay, cool. Say less. Yeah. I'm glad that you lot knew this, you know. I'm glad that you lot knew this. You know, I read a book about this 20 years ago about this. It's called Hidden, the East African Origins of Islam. Anyways, as I said, I'm way ahead. You know, I love that. It's hard to deny real archaeology. It is, you know, it is. I want to know, what are people going to start saying? Yeah, like for real. Like when this because obviously it's not mainstream yet. These articles are only published in the last 2 years or so. Yeah, so it's not mainstream yet. But Kalam has said to everybody that, you know, the Quran is a Christian text. The start of the Quran is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We find inscriptions in Abyssinia, ancient Abyssinia, in South Arabia, of the Bismillah that they've dated back into the late 6th century, dated back into the time of Abraha, who brought this new religion, right? Everything that I'm saying is there. I can't wait for this. I need you guys to take this information onto the Christian apologetic channels and Muslim channels, yeah, and start dropping this information in Speaker's Corner, because it needs to be done. Because for too long, yeah, people be looking at me like, Kalam, you're crazy. Why are you trying to make Islam Christianity? But all of the evidence, archaeology is right there saying exactly what I'm saying. I can't wait. 10 years from now, I'll be vindicated. Anyways, peace and love, family, and I'll catch you guys on another show. Oh, man. Young Caddy, baby. Yeah.